Hey, buddy, hit that subscribe. Just a sec for you, but it means the world to me. I've got a pretty sharp instinct for bad vibes. 60 plus years on this planet will do that to you. So the moment I stepped into that lawyer's office and saw who was sitting in the corner chair, my body locked up like I'd hit black ice. Claire, my daughter-in-law. She wasn't supposed to be there. Nobody mentioned her name. Nobody warned me. And the way she looked at me, calm, polished, that tight little smile that never touched her eyes. Yeah, that's when my gut started screaming that I just walked into something ugly. But I'm jumping ahead. This whole mess really began the day I buried my brother. His name was Tom Hale. Everyone called him Tommy. He was 4 years younger than me, and for most of my life, my right hand, my shadow, my best friend. We grew up dirt poor, scrapping our way through life, then packed up and moved cities together in our 20s. Built a construction business from straight up nothing. No investors, no handouts, just sweat and stubbornness. Tom never married. Said he'd seen too many guys get wrecked by bad marriages. He poured everything into the business and into my son, Evan. Evan was his weak spot. Tom taught him how to skate, how to fish, how to swing a hammer without smashing his thumb. When Evan showed talent for engineering, Tom quietly paid half his tuition and told me, smart kids shouldn't start life buried in debt. To Evan, Tom wasn't just an uncle. He was a second father. That's why what happened later felt like betrayal on a whole different level. Tom died suddenly. Heart attack. Dropped right on a job site during an inspection. 66 years old. Gone before the ambulance even rolled in. The kind of death that makes everyone say, damn, life's fragile, and then move on. The funeral was small, just how Tom wanted it. No big speeches. No drama. Ashes scattered at Georgian Bay, where we used to fish as kids. Evan gave a eulogy, and I won't lie, it broke me. My boys stood there, holding it together, talking about strength and kindness like they were built from the same material. Claire sat beside me, holding my hand like the perfect supportive wife. I'd never fully trusted her. Something about her always felt calculated, like she was running numbers in her head while pretending to listen. But Evan loved her, and that was enough for me to stay in my lane. A week after the funeral, Evan told me Tom's lawyer wanted a meeting about the will. I wasn't worried. Tom and I had gone over it together. Evan would get a share. The rest would go to family and charities. Clean, fair. That's what made it hit so hard when I opened the conference room door and saw Claire sitting there alone, dressed way too sharp for a family while reading. And when the lawyer said the words power of attorney, my blood ran cold, because right then I realized something was seriously off. And worse, my son wasn't there to defend himself. I didn't know it yet, but that meeting wasn't about a will. It was a moment I learned my son was already being controlled, and my brother might not have died naturally at all. The moment the lawyer said power of attorney, I knew I was screwed. Not legally, yet, but strategically? Yeah, someone had played chess while I was still playing checkers. I sat down slow, keeping my face neutral, even though my heart was pounding like it wanted out of my chest. Claire crossed her legs calmly, like she was exactly where she belonged. No nerves, no hesitation. That kind of confidence doesn't come from innocence. It comes from preparation. The lawyer, Mr. Bradley, cleared his throat and opened a thick folder. Mr. Hale, he said carefully, your brother's was being contested. That hit me sideways. Contested? I snapped. By who? Claire answered before he could. By me, she said softly. On Evan's behalf. I laughed once. Short, bitter. You've got to be kidding me. She didn't flinch. She claimed Tom wasn't mentally sound when he updated the will. Claimed he was under undue influence. Claimed my son, my grown, capable son, was emotionally unstable and needed her to manage his affairs. I wanted to flip the table. Instead, I asked the only question that mattered. Where's my son? Claire smiled again. That fake, plastic smile. Evan isn't taking calls right now. Doctor's orders. Doctor's orders. That's when I knew this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment money grab. This was planned, calculated, cold. The lawyer looked uncomfortable, Like a guy who realized too late he'd stepped into the wrong damn movie. Then he said something that made my stomach drop. "There's something your brother asked me to give you. Privately." Claire stood up instantly. "If it concerns Evan, I need be present." "No," the lawyer said firmly. This was explicit. For half a second, her mask cracked. Just a flash, pure rage behind the eyes. Then it vanished, replaced with that polished calm. "Of course," she said. "I'll wait outside." The second the door closed, the lawyer locked it. Then he pulled out a large envelope. "Sealed. Signed. This was left 5 months ago," he said quietly. "Your brother was scared." That word hit hard. Tom didn't scare easy. Inside the envelope was a flash drive, documents, and a handwritten letter. The handwriting was steady. Clean. Tom was sharp when he wrote this. I read the first line and felt my throat tighten. "Rich, if you're reading this, something's wrong." Tom wrote that he'd overheard Claire talking to a man at Evan's birthday party, talking about money, about timelines, about how old men don't live forever. That line alone sent a chill straight down my spine. Tom didn't jump to conclusions, but he'd started watching, listening, paying attention, and what he found scared him enough to hire a private investigator. The letter said Claire wasn't who she claimed to be. Different names, different past, different husbands, all older, all wealthy, all dead. I looked up from the letter, hands shaking. "You think my brother was murdered?" I asked. The lawyer didn't answer right away. Instead, he slid another file across the table. "The coroner ruled it a heart attack," he said, "but there were traces of a heart medication in his system, one he was never prescribed." My blood ran cold. That's when the thought hit me, clear as day. If Tom figured this out and then died, I was next. And worse than that, my son was already trapped in her web. I stood up, barely breathing. "I need to see Evan," I said. The lawyer shook his head slowly. "She won't let you." He was right. That night, I drove straight to my son's house. Claire answered the door like the perfect wife. Soft voice, concerned eyes, playing the victim like a pro. "Evan can't see you," she said. "You're upsetting him." When I tried to step past her, she raised her voice just enough for the neighbors to hear. "Please don't force your way in. I'll call the police." That's when I understood the real danger. She wasn't just after money. She was isolating him, controlling him, and she had already started painting me as the unstable one. I went home and listened to the recordings on the flash drive. Her voice, clear, cold, talking about death like it was a business transaction, talking about me like I was already halfway in the ground. That's when the truth finally settled in. My brother didn't die by accident. My son was being drugged, and I wasn't dealing with a greedy wife. I was dealing with a professional predator. That night, I made one decision that changed everything. I stopped playing defense and started planning a trap, one that could either save my son or get me killed. I didn't sleep that night, not even a minute. Once you hear your brother's voice on a recording, calmly talking about his own death like it's already scheduled, you don't just rest it off. Your brain goes into survival mode. By sunrise, I knew 2 things for sure. First, Claire wasn't done. Second, I was already on her list. I called the lawyer first thing in the morning. "I want everything reopened," I said. "The will, the death, all of it." He exhaled hard. "She's gonna fight this, Richard. Hard." "Good," I said. "Let her." That same day, I hired my own private investigator. Not cheap, not flashy. Just a guy who'd spent 20 years following people who thought they were smarter than everyone else. And Claire? She definitely thought she was untouchable. Over the next few weeks, the picture got uglier. Different names, different cities, 2 previous husbands, both rich, both dead under unfortunate but plausible circumstances. 1 medication mix-up, 1 staircase fall, and every time, she walked away with everything. No charges, no convictions, just clean exits and fresh identities. Meanwhile, my son was still silent. No calls, No texts. No emails. Claire had him locked down tight. Then came the restraining order. She claimed I was harassing her, that my grief had turned me unstable, that I was a danger to Evan's mental health. The court bought it, at least temporarily. I couldn't go within 100 yards of my own son. That's when the fear really set in, because isolation is step one, and poisoning? That's usually step two. I took everything we had, recordings, financial transfers, the investigator's report, to the police. A detective listened, nodded, took notes, then said the words I dreaded. It's all circumstantial. No body caught in the act. No direct proof. No slam dunk. And Evan? If he's being drugged, the detective said, his testimony won't hold. So we were stuck until the detective leaned back and said something that changed the game. We could bait her. That's when the plan took shape. We leaked false medical records through legal channels. Carefully, subtly, just enough for Claire's lawyer to accidentally see them. Late-stage cancer. Short timeline. Terminal. If Claire thought I was dying naturally, she wouldn't wait. Predators don't wait when the finish line's in sight. 3 days later, my phone rang. Claire's name lit up the screen. Her voice was honey-sweet. I heard about your diagnosis, she said. I'm so sorry. I almost laughed. I think Evan would really like to see you, she continued. Before I died, she invited me to dinner at their house. And do you know what she said she was making? Pot roast. The same meal Tom had eaten the night before he collapsed. That's when I knew this wasn't just a meeting. It was an execution. The police set up surveillance. A wire. Backup units nearby. Still, I didn't feel safe. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. When someone wants you dead, they only have to get lucky once. I drove to my son's house the next evening with my heart in my throat. Claire answered the door in an apron, smiling like a damn commercial. Richard, come in. I saw Evan sitting on the couch, and my chest cracked open. He was thinner, pale, eyes dull, like someone had turned the lights off inside him. Dad, he said flatly, that wasn't my boy. Claire hovered, watched, controlled the room like a puppeteer. Then she sent us to the garage together. And that's when everything flipped. The moment we were alone, Evan's eyes sharpened. Dad, he whispered, I've been faking it. I froze. I haven't been taking the pills. I hide them. I know what she's doing. Relief hit me so hard my knees almost buckled. Then he said the words that changed everything. She's going to poison you tonight. And worse, the guy helping her, Evan said, voice shaking, he's a cop. My stomach dropped. The trap wasn't just exposed. It was being turned against us. I walked into that house thinking I was bait. What I didn't realize was my son had been playing his own long game, and the real showdown was about to start. When Evan told me the man helping Claire was a cop, my blood ran ice cold. Everything suddenly made sense. Why she always stayed one step ahead. Why evidence kept hitting dead ends. Why every move we made felt anticipated. The trap we thought we set? Yeah, we were standing inside her version of it. Dad, Evan whispered, gripping my arm hard, we can't eat that food. I know, I said quietly. The police are outside. Evan shook his head. Not the real ones. That's when he pulled out his phone. Hundreds of recordings. Videos. Voice notes. Conversations he'd secretly captured for months. Proof of her planning. Proof of the drugging. Proof she thought he was weak and fogged, when in reality, he'd been wide awake the whole time. She checks everything, he said. Phone, email, GPS. So I let her think I was broken. Let her think she'd won. My son, my kid, had been acting helpless to stay alive. And Claire? She'd been smiling through it all. We heard her voice from the kitchen. Dinner's ready. Evan's face went tight. She put something in it, he said. Not just poison. Something corrosive. Something that makes it look like internal bleeding. Before I could respond, his phone vibrated. One message. RCMP. En route. 5 minutes. Not city police. Federal. Someone Claire's inside man couldn't touch. Footsteps echoed in the hall. Claire appeared in the garage doorway, holding 2 plates of pot roast. She was smiling, but her eyes were locked on Evan now, really looking at him. And that's when she knew. "You little liar," she said softly. "The mask dropped. You've been awake this whole time." Evan raised his phone. "It's over," he said. "Your real name, the money, the recordings. I've got it all." A voice came through the phone speaker. "Claire Monroe, this is Corporal Hayes with the RCMP. Units are surrounding your property. Put the plates down." For half a second, time froze. Then Claire made her choice. She threw the plates at us and ran. We ducked. The food hit the wall, and where it splashed on the floor, it burned. Not hot. Chemical, eating into the concrete. That's when I knew, without a doubt, Tom had been murdered. We heard her car start. Tires screeching. Then a crash. RCMP vehicles blocked the street. Sirens. Shouting. Claire was dragged out of the wreck, screaming, like a cornered animal. Her accomplice was arrested 3 streets away. And just like that, it was over. Or so I thought. Because survival isn't the end of the story. It's just the beginning of the aftermath. I thought stopping her would bring relief. What I didn't expect was how much damage she'd already done, and how close I'd come to losing my son forever. Once the sirens died down, and Claire was gone in the back of that cruiser, I expected relief. I didn't get it. What I felt instead was exhaustion, so deep it scared me. Because when you survive something like that, your body finally realizes how close you came to not surviving at all. Evan didn't say much that night. He just sat beside me, quiet, staring at the floor like he was afraid to blink and wake up back inside her control. The RCMP took our statements separately. Bags were sealed, evidence logged, phones cloned. And then came the part nobody prepares you for. Waiting. Claire didn't crack in interrogation. Not at first. She lawyered up immediately. Smiled for cameras when she was transferred. Played the wronged wife, the misunderstood caregiver. But evidence doesn't care about charm. They exhumed Tom's body. That alone almost broke me. Seeing my brother's name on an autopsy order felt like losing him all over again, but this time with anger layered on top of grief. The second autopsy confirmed it. Digitalis. Carefully dosed. Timed perfectly. Not enough to look obvious. Just enough to stop a heart. Same pattern as her first husband. Same signature. Once that came out, the walls started closing in. The recordings Evan made? Solid. The financial trails? Clear as day. The fake medical control over my son? Documented. Her accomplice flipped. And when he did, the whole story spilled out. How she targeted wealthy older men. How she isolated families. How she drugged without killing. Until it was time. Evan was supposed to be her long-term asset. Me? I was just the final obstacle. The trial prep was brutal. Claire's defense tried to paint Evan as unstable. Tried to twist my grief into paranoia. Tried to say Tom was sick already. But here's the thing. When predators get exposed, they always underestimate one detail. The paper trail. Emails. Transfers. Old aliases. Patterns that repeat no matter how clever you think you are. The jury didn't need dramatics. They needed math. And the math didn't lie. Evan started therapy during all of this. Real therapy. Independent doctors. No pills. No fog. The first time he laughed again, really laughed, I had to step out of the room. Because that sound, that was the proof I almost lost him. We went back to Sunday dinners. Just us at first. Quiet. Healing. No pressure. The business stabilized. We renamed it in Tom's honor. That mattered to me more than any verdict. Claire now sits in a concrete box waiting for sentencing. Multiple murder charges. Attempted murder. Fraud stacked, so high it's honestly impressive in the worst way. She doesn't smile anymore. And sometimes, late at night, I think about how close she came. How one envelope, one suspicious brother, one smart kid pretending to be weak, changed everything. People think surviving evil is the end. It's not. The real question is, what kind of life do you build after it tries to erase you? It's strange what stays with you after everything settles. Not the sirens, not the courtroom noise, not even the face of the person who tried to destroy your family. What stays is the quiet. 8 months have passed since the night Claire was arrested, since my son and I stood in that garage, realizing just how close we'd come to losing everything. Life didn't magically snap back to normal. It rebuilt itself slowly, piece by piece, like a structure you reinforce after an earthquake. Claire, real name Allison Monroe, was convicted on multiple counts: murder, attempted murder, fraud, coercive control. The sentence was long enough that she'll grow old behind concrete walls. When the verdict was read, she didn't cry, didn't scream. She just stared straight ahead like she was already planning her next move. That's when I finally understood something. People like her don't feel lost the way we do. They feel inconvenience. Tom's death was officially reclassified as homicide. Seeing that word, murder, on my brother's file nearly took me to my knees. But there was also relief. Truth matters. Even late, especially late. We scattered Tom's ashes again at Georgian Bay. Same spot, same dock. Just Evan and me. No speeches. No drama. Just silence and water and memory. Evan is different now. Stronger, but quieter. Trauma doesn't leave you. It rearranges you. He's cautious, observant. He notices control where others miss it. He trusts slower, but he's alive, clear-minded, and finally free. And me? I don't ignore my instincts anymore. If something feels off, I don't explain it away. I don't stay polite. I don't give the benefit of the doubt to someone who hasn't earned it, because that's how predators survive, by counting on our hesitation. We renamed the business Hale and Hale, not for branding, for memory, for the brother who paid attention when no one else did. Sometimes I sit alone at night and think about the version of the story that almost happened, the one where Tom stayed silent, the one where Evan actually swallowed the pills, the one where I trusted the smile instead of the feeling in my gut. That version ends with empty chairs at the table. This one doesn't. Now, every Sunday, Evan comes over for dinner. Nothing fancy. Just food, conversation, and the kind of quiet that means safety. Sometimes we talk about Tom. Sometimes we don't. Both feel right. And every time I lock the door at night, I think about the lesson my brother left me, his final gift. Pay attention. Ask questions. Protect your people. Because evil doesn't always kick the door in. Sometimes it smiles, pours dinner, and waits for you to look away. If something feels wrong in your life, don't ignore it. It might be the warning that saves you.